Good morning and happy Monday, everyone. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I also hope that everybody had a great sales week last week. And I noticed that we are doing the uptick in business right now. With the summer months coming, the short-term medical business will become more of a steady part of our income. And one thing about the short-term market, though, is we should really be working with those ancillary products to help fill those deductibles, so kind of create that package concept. I know one of the huge perks about being an agent here with AHCP is that we have access to all these great carriers and products, and you don't have to do as much of the legwork for contracting. So if you want to learn more about the ancillary products, obviously reach out to Tammy there. So talking about Tammy, I know last week she continued with the common sales mistakes, and I hope you all are getting a huge kick out of that. I know I watched the recordings afterwards, and I get a lot out of it. There are 25 in total, and she's doing great walking through them so far. And go back, watch those videos. They are loaded up in that training section at AHCP Sales, so feel free. So what we're doing this week is we're actually going to continue our series on the sales process, and we're going to talk about presenting the plan. So how to effectively explain the benefits to our clients. And I have a few tricks that you should steal. I have a few things up my sleeve that I think you're going to get a pretty big kick out of. So happy Motivation Monday, everyone. We go through the tip of the week, we go through the trends, what's going on as far as business goes, and then we're going to go through the sales technique, which again at the end is going to be that plan presentation. So kind of going through last week's tip of the week, it was all about the GAP plan there, Healthy America. So really simple plan designs, really simple online application process, simple contracting. It's really an easy online open enrollment portal. There's guaranteed issue, really unique product designs. It's great for price-sensitive buyers as well, and it has a really awesome commission program. I know Tammy walked through those, so if you are not contracted with them yet, please reach out and get contracted with them. This week's tip of the week, nothing super exciting, not as great as Tammy's last week, but it's about Time Insurance Company. So all of you that have been writing what I call TIC, so these TIC products, you've been using AssurantHealthSales.com. It's actually moving over to Time Insurance Company Agent, so TICagent.com. They are moving over. You've probably received emails about that. Now, if you are looking for more information about the products on AHCP Sales, it is listed under National General. National General is actually the owner of Time Insurance Company, so that's what you're looking for. It has all the same product portfolio that it did when it was Assurant Health. So feel free to take a look. If you have any questions about those products, reach out to me. I think if everybody doesn't know my history yet, I was actually a trainer there at Assurant, so I know these products more than you want to know. Actually, I've also helped create quite a few. So pick my mind, please do. I'm going to be a great resource for that. Also, to let you know, there are going to be future changes to the Time Insurance Company quoting platform. The quoting platform that they have been using is actually going to be going away. And they have this new quoting platform out that I've had the opportunity to see, and let me tell you, it is phenomenal. It's great too for all those agents out there that are selling face-to-face. It's a really good client-facing portal, which is uncommon here in the health insurance industry. It seems like all quoting portals are really for more of, people being on the phone. No, this is a really great client-facing portal. So go out. When that comes out, we'll kind of do a walkthrough about it. We'll go through how to effectively use that platform. I personally love it, so just to let y'all know. So to kind of go through some trends, obviously there's still that overall decrease in major medical. We will have an increase too with the upcoming 6/1 start date. So expect a little bit of business to come in for major medical this week. At least that's my prediction. I feel like a weather forecaster right now. There was an increase in short-term medical, and there's been a very consistent increase in short-term medical. Last week I was actually out working with a contact center for short-term medical, and they said, they are getting hundreds of calls a day about it, and so short-term is really out there. Also an increase in accident, which makes me really happy to see, because that means you guys are creating those packages. You're changing that client mindset. You're letting them know that, 4 out of every 5 reasons people go into the hospital is actually accident-based. So knowing that, as far as claims-wise goes, I should say. So letting them know that, those accident products are out there and they are actually needed. Also with anybody with kids, that is the reason why you want those accident products, because children love to get injured. It is a part-time hobby of theirs. I have a friend whose little boy put on a cape, and I'm not joking you, Superman down the stairs. That's an accident. It is a horrible accident, slightly funny if you're not the one getting injured, but an accident nonetheless. A slight decrease in critical illness, which was a little surprising. So I know accident plans do get used more, but when people get a critical illness, they're more likely to have a harder financial hit than in an accident because critical illnesses last longer. So critical illnesses plans are out there to help support your client financially long-term, where accident plans are more to help with that short-term quick solution, where with critical illnesses, they are more of a long-term solution. No change in dental. So we sell those awesome dental products out there, but there's been no real change, no huge uptick or downtick in that. So keep creating those dental plans. People are in love with the dental plans. I've been getting pretty good feedback about that. Again, if you're selling the dental plan, that is going to be one of the first things that your client uses. So make sure it is the appropriate dental plan. We have those star mount ones out there if you're looking for a PPO. I know Time Insurance Company has a great fixed benefit dental plan. Match it up with what your client's needs are. So the sales technique part, this is what everybody's wanting to talk about. At least I've gotten a few emails about it. So a few weeks ago, we walked through how to do an effective introduction, and that included the 4 steps. So that unique introduction, the why you are calling, the WIFM, or what's in it for me, and then the explaining your sales process. The next step is what we went through a few weeks ago as well, which is the fact finding. So we talked about setting it up and having those 5 main things, the 5 main things you need to know at minimum. So obviously your fact finding is a lot more, but the minimum that you need to go to be able to match the right product and make a sale and have your client want to keep it. So again, going through what's their previous insurance situation so you can find out what you can sell them. Going through the why they're calling, because if you don't know the why, you will never be able to make an effective sale. Going through the consumption, how are they actually going to use that plan? What plan should I match them with? I spend my time on the consumption area. Budget, is their budget even realistic? If their budget really is $50, you're going to be making a different package than if their budget is $500. And then also start date, which can change what you need as far as it goes for selling wise too. Maybe they do have a qualifying life event, but their plan can't start till the 1st, and you're going to fill that gap with the short term. So there's a lot of things there. So now you have the client's attention. You know what they need as far as the products go, and you have them pulled up and you're ready to explain it. This is the part that kind of, really gets your mind flowing. You could just ramble through the benefits, but that's not effective. And I know for a fact that your clients won't remember it. Again, I specialize in both sales, but also as far as it goes with adults learning and what they remember. If you ramble off the numbers, no shot. Don't even waste your time. So you need to do a solid plan presentation for 3 reasons. 1, your client will not buy when they don't understand. And I mean by understand is that they won't buy what doesn't fix their problem that they care about. Again, the plan presentation is about them. It's about fixing their problem, doing solution selling. Number 2, a good benefit explanation will hopefully reduce the number of angry calls you get and save your E&O. A good benefit explanation is really going to help because people will know how to use their benefits, so they're not going to call you up saying, I thought the plan did this. They'll have a good idea. 3, a great plan presentation increases your retention because it's a known fact that clients will keep what they understand and know how to use. So if there's a slight doubt in their plan understanding, or if something cheaper comes up, if they do not understand the plan and something cheaper comes up, they will cancel it. Guaranteed, bam, they will just drop it. I see it happen a lot. So it's one of those things that you need to make sure that your client has those clear understandings of how the benefits work, but also an understanding of how the benefits work for them. So to do an effective plan presentation, you don't need to spend half of your conversation doing it. It's honestly only about 15% of the whole conversation. But you need to make sure to hit the points your client cares about, which it's really fortunate if you do a good job in fact finding because you know why the client is calling and what type of plan they're looking for and what they care about. Best part is you also know what their budget is and when it needs to start. So, that's all basic plan presentation. So let's jump in. So plan presentation is really five main components to it. There is a recommendation or explanation of what you're doing. Again, clients want to know what you are doing. They don't like it. The fear of the unknown is huge for humans. How the benefit usage works, so how does this actually pertain to them? How the ancillary products work. This is with the benefit usage, you're actually going to intermix the whole package concept. So you'll intermix the accident, you'll intermix the critical illness. You're going to get what's called a confirmation of benefits, or a yes to benefits, which this is going to be something that may be a little new for people. I'll just give you kind of a quick heads up. I will never ever, well, the last step is price. I will never ever give price until I know exactly that the package I've created is going to work for them. They've told me their budget. I will keep it within their budget. There's no doubt with that. But if I am completely missing the mark on the benefits, it does not matter how much that plan costs, because guess what? They will not keep it and they will not want to buy it. So everybody's going to wait. Everyone will pay attention to the end of your presentation for the price. That's what they want. A lot of people just want the price to run, but if you can get them to confirm they want the benefits, when you give the price, it's not going to be as much of a, I got what I need, I'm going to leave. So let's jump into the 5 steps. So it really starts with the recommendation or explanation, and that is you asserting yourself that you're a professional and that they should be listening. I start with personally, well, I have a recommendation that's going to be an excellent fit. What I'm going to do is I'll give you the full explanation of all the benefits, and as long as you like what we hear, we're going to go ahead and get you applied for that plan today. So the package I'm going to recommend for you, that will best suit your needs, and then I just start in with either it's a short-term or the major medical. You really are setting up that you are a professional and that you've customized this for each client, because you do have so many options at the tips of your finger as agents of AHCP, because we have so many carriers to pick from. This is setting up the whole conversation about the plan. I personally let my clients know right away. I say, hey, guess what? Grab a pen and paper. And if I'm with them face to face, I give them a pen and paper, so sit down so they can write down what's important to them. And I actually tell them what to write down, because if you're going to go through and ramble through a plan, they're not going to remember. You want them to remember the high points. People are going to remember 80% better what they write down than what you tell them. So what you're going to tell them, they're only going to remember 20%. As far as it goes, if they write it down, it's a little higher. It's about 85%. So you want them to write things down. I love asking people to grab a pen and paper. I actually get a really big kick out of it personally, because 90% of the time you can hear them running and grabbing it. And they're like digging through this junk drawer trying to get the pen. So I like it. So you need to do this setup phrase, but there are a few things to remember. As you're going through this plan presentation, you need to ask your clients questions that are only going to be able to give a yes. You did fact finding, which is you asked all open-ended questions, but in plan presentation you ask closed-ended questions that only end in a positive response. You don't want to give a no here. You want your client to keep saying yes through this whole process. So when you go to do the sale and the close at the end, they've already been saying yes for 3 minutes. The final yes isn't going to be that hard. So you also need to make sure, as we're going through these next few steps, that you have at least 2 examples to start with that you can say, earlier you told me, and run into how the benefits are going to work. When you're doing your fact finding, if you do not, by consumption, have 2 good examples of what you can do, don't leave fact finding. You need to have two reasons to tie the product back to the consumer. 2 reasons to say, earlier you told me, because what's going to be happening is you're going to be talking through these benefits. Your client, even if you do all the jazz in the world, your client is going to slightly zone out. But if you say, well, earlier you told me Ben is going to start paying attention to me again, no matter what. And this is where I'm going to tell him about benefits that pertain to him. And at the end of my earlier you told me phrase, I'm going to have him write something down. So start with the recommendation. I have a recommendation. It's going to be an excellent fit. I'm going to give you a full explanation of the benefits. And as long as you like what you hear, we can go ahead and get you applied for that plan today. The plan I'm going to recommend from you is NHIC's Intrium Care with A. So you kind of just run into it. So second, when you give them the name of the plan, you give them the name of the package, you need to start using examples to get the clients to pay attention. You can go through examples of how it works at the doctor's office. So if you go into the doctor's office, how it's going to work is, this plan gives you a $50 first benefit, meaning that when you go to the doctor's office, no matter what the cost of the doctor is, they're going to provide you $50 to go see a doctor. So things that actually matter to the client. Personally, I love talking about the doctor because everyone cares, like, hey, what's going to happen if I go to the doctor? The second is, hey, I really care what's going to happen if the big what if happens. Doctor is a little easier. Personally, when I go through the doctor, I make sure to check that their doctor is in network, because their doctor's not in network, you're kind of wasting your time there with them. Also depending on what the plan is. But the second is I like to go through what's going to happen if the big what if happens. Everybody in their mind is getting insurance to prevent them from the big what if. So I start with a large example. I always start with $100,000. Why $100,000? You're like, whoa, can you get a $100,000 medical bill? Yeah, it's actually kind of easy. I've had over two that were greatly over $100,000 personally, but what you're doing with $100,000 is shocking the consumer, and what that does is going to make them listen. Also keep in mind, 60% of the US doesn't even have $1,000 in their savings account, so $100,000 is kind of mind-blowing that, hey, you're going to get a $100,000 bill. For most people, that's their mortgage. You know, it takes them 30 years to pay it off. So start with $100,000. Keep in mind when you are going through benefit usage, this is when you start with the earlier you told me. So earlier you told me how you were painting the house a few years ago and you fell and you had to spend 4 days in the hospital. So let's say that happened again and the bill was $100,000. Here's how that would work. So the deductible on this plan is $2,000, followed by a coinsurance of 80%, 20%, with a max out of pocket of $5,000. So write this down with me, okay? So your plan would pay the first $2,000. That's your deductible. Next, we're going to split the bills 80% for the insurance company, 20% for you, until you just spent a total out of pocket of $5,000. So that $100,000 accident would actually only cost you $5,000, and the insurance company is actually going to pick up $95,000. How does that sound? Make some end with a positive yes, go through the thing. I've had them write it down. Pretty easy, nothing mind-blowing, but I like to have them write down the $100,000 saying, hey, $100,000, I'm only responsible for $5,000. Pretty powerful. Start with the earlier you told me, start with the story that they have told you. You can do all of this with the doctors, you can do this with prescriptions, you can talk about physical therapy, you can talk about the network. So earlier you told me, you know, you had a lot of experience when you were going to the hospital, the doctor was never in network. Well, this plan uses the Aetna Open Choice PPO network with over 850,000 doctors. Knowing that there's going to be a doctor close to you is something that's important to you, right? So things like that, where you want to, earlier you told me, tell them a little story about how the benefits actually work and end with something that's going to make them say yes. Super important. Again, I mean, you want to do this. I personally almost always do it with just the doctors and the deductible. And the reason why I do it with the deductible is I'm going to tie in the next part, which is really the ancillary products. So what you're doing during the benefit usage in the $100,000 example, so if I did that one before and I'm talking about, hey, you fell off that ladder and it was $100,000 and you had to spend 4 days in the hospital, this is how it would work. But also with this package, we've included an accident medical expense. What that does is it takes that $5,000, as long as it's an accident, that $5,000 exposure that you have, and it's actually going to lower it to $250. So really, you're not going to be financially hit too hard if a big accident happens. So kind of walk them through the benefit, intermix it in that $100,000 example. If you've included a critical illness, obviously start with the example of a critical illness. If you've included an accident plan, which you should, the TrioMed is phenomenal to actually do it, because no matter what they tell you, you're basically going to hit it because they have that accident medical expense, and they also have the critical illness benefit in there. So be clear in what it does, especially with the ancillary products. That's extremely important to be clear on what they do. People are going to see the bill, and again, you know, they're going to get one draft from your short term. They're going to see another draft if you sell them from a different company's accident medical expense. They're more likely to cancel the ancillary, so these are the ones that they have to be really clear on what they do. Most people will understand, hey, big what if happens, deductible, coinsurance max, bam, this is what you'll be totally responsible for. But ancillary products are kind of something that's growing so much in the marketplace right now that you want them to be clear. Also, you want them to like them, because if they get a big kick out of them and they think it's the best thing since sliced bread, you could get some pretty solid referrals after that. So really with them, the ancillary products, you need to tell the story. You need to intermix it in that client's conversation. Intermix it with why they have it on there. You know, if it's a young person and you've included accidental dismemberment because they think they're invincible, and it's only $4 a month, talk about that, you know. So if the worst thing happens, you actually get a flat lump sum check for $50,000. So you can kind of get your life back on your feet, pay your rent, pay all of your bills. I mean, these things are important, especially with the ancillaries. You need to paint a very clear picture on what they want. And I mix it in that $100,000 benefits. I mean, the things with the plan presentation is your client has to have basic understanding on how the plan works. So if it's a short term, they need to understand what happens if they go to a doctor and what happens if the big what if happens. Those are the two biggest things that you have to hit. And with that, tie in the ancillary at the end. I mean, you want your client to write down what they care about. Most people care about going to the doctor. Have them write down what the network is. Do a doctor search right in front of them. Find a doctor and network close to their house. Second, do the deductible. Have them write down what would they be responsible for, that $5,000, and then have them go through, write down what's going to happen now that they have that accident plan on there. So if it's an accident medical expense, you can have them cross out the $5,000 and put $250. Pretty powerful. You know, watching people say, wow, you know, if something bad happens, at least I'm not responsible for $95,000. Well, actually, if something really bad happens, you're only going to be responsible for $250. So having them cross it out, having them write it down, having them visually see it is going to increase your close rate so much more. It's so much more powerful that way. After the ancillary, so you go through, you do your song and dance, you set up, hey, I'm a professional. Hey, not only am I a professional, this is how your plan's going to work. Your plan also comes with these great package benefits as far as it goes. It comes with an accident medical expense. It comes with dental. You go through all of that. The most important thing in the whole plan presentation is that you get a yes to benefits. Is this the plan that is going to work, right? You go through all that. Do these benefits sound like they are going to work for you and your family? After you say that phrase, do these sound like benefits that are going to work for you and your family? Shut up. Just shut up and let them do it. Zig Ziglar has the thing, kind of whoever's going to talk next is going to lose. When you're closing, this is the yes that I want to apply. This is actually kind of, it's like a pre-close. It's really a close, but it's kind of a pre-close. If they don't give you a solid yes, this is when you stop. This is when you get to do a little bit of overcoming objections, which we're going to hit in a few weeks. But you need to get the solid yes to benefits. If you don't do it now and you're just like, hey, look, here's all these great benefits, it's $500, let's get applied, you may have actually a higher cancellation rate because your client's just going to say, you know what, I'm going to say yes, but luckily I can go back and cancel all these later. No, get a yes to benefits. Make sure that this is what they want. Once you get the yes, move forward. If you don't get a yes, or if they say, you know, it sounds kind of okay. Okay, what do you mean by kind of okay? Do we need to go through and make changes? Do not give them the price until you, and do not move on until you get a yes. If they're sitting there asking and all they want is price, 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 stop saying, you told me what your budget is. This is well within your budget. I just want to make sure that these benefits work for you. It doesn't matter if, you know, the plan cost is going to be within your budget, but we just have to make sure these benefits actually work. If not, we can make changes. I have a lot of options as an agent. Do not move on until you get the yes. It's actually going to be extremely uncomfortable for you your first few times. I remember when I started doing that, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. When I started doing that, I got extremely uncomfortable and I actually fidgeted. Don't fidget if you can help it, especially if you're doing face-to-face. But it's uncomfortable for you. But my close rate increased so much. My retention increased so much because I was stopping here. This is when I can get all of their objections, right? I can deal with objections and fact-finding because I'm going to go through and set realistic expectations. But here's also where I can find out about, you know, is this actually going to work? You get a yes to benefits, give them the price. Great news is this plan comes in at $515. So, you know, you kept it in their budget first off. And what I personally do is I just roll into the application. Great news is this plan is $515 and the next step in the process is to complete an application. What's your middle initial? And at that point, I'm going to be rolling into the application. I assumed the sale. I already got the yes to benefits. I know it's going to work. I know everything is going to happen. It's a different form of a sales process. You know, this is when we're going to be asking for money. This is when we're going to walk through things. But you should assume that they want it. You just hit, yes, these are the benefits I want. Yes, this is the price I want. Yes, this is the start date that I want. There should be no reason for an objection. You should be able to just roll right into it, and it shouldn't be anything too hard. I personally like to start asking demographic questions that usually, I don't need. Like middle initial, Some applications you may need it, a lot you don't. So if you start asking for things like that, like I just have a demographic question, memorize middle initial and can we verify your address? Well, I already have their address down somewhere. Middle initial, great, something I can forget. That way I can just keep moving on my sales process, because if you have a lull after you give them the price, that is going to give them actually an area to start thinking about an objection. But if you roll right into it, you'll be surprised how many more you'll close. So as far as it goes, that is kind of the more powerful things to do during the, So that's some of the more powerful things to do as far as it goes with the plan presentation. I just had a question pop up. Yes, this is actually recorded. If this is something you want to go in more detail to, we can do that, especially one-on-one if people would like. The recordings of this is posted in the AHCP sales, and it's in the training area. But it probably won't be posted till tomorrow afternoon. I think at the earliest is when it will get posted. We have to wait for it to update at night. If you guys ever have questions or want to expand on a thought on something I went over, please reach out. Training@ahcpsales.com. I get a lot of agents who reach out to me there. I can give you my phone number. We can talk about it. We can create a plan and we can go through things together. I get a big kick out of it personally. So. And I thought we'd end with a pretty good quote here. So every sales call, from a cold call until a closing call, should follow a pre-planned structure that's meant to optimize the likelihood of a desired result. We're going through the 4 steps of the sales process. We are creating that plan together. We went through the introduction, which is posted in the training area. We went through fact finding, which is posted in the training area. We just went through the presentation. Next week, we're going to go through the close. The close, we've already hit almost all the points of the close, so the close should not be that hard. So we went through the 3 parts. We have 1 part left. Part of the close is we're going to review a little bit about what we talked about this week. So. Actually, next week we won't. It's Memorial Day. I lied to all of you. So we won't be doing it. It will be the week after. So we should not have a Motivation Monday next Monday because our office is actually closed. So I do hope everybody is safe and enjoys their time if you get Monday off or if you're choosing to take Monday off. If you're going out of town, sounds kind of fun, but make sure to bring some business cards just in case. I'm originally from Minnesota. I used to go to small towns in Wisconsin on Memorial Day to go boating on lakes. And I'd always give out my business cards and I would get referrals that way. So keep that in mind. It's great networking opportunities. It's the least you can expect out of it. And I hope everyone has a great few weeks and until the next Motivation Monday. And reach out if you need anything. Let's go make some sales. Thanks, everyone.